Hey everybody, it's Christina Holloway here. Welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to talk about using some effective communication skills at work that will help you clear away confusion and misunderstandings while also helping you create some clear direction for yourself. This is the second half of my communication skills video where I talk about the 10 most effective tools you can use to up-level your communication skills at work. I'm going to talk about the next 5 tools here today. Here is a link to that first video. Also, this year I'm sharing 12 leadership metrics that will help you succeed in your career. This is pretty much a full framework for how to develop your skills to build your career. This month, we're talking about effective communication strategies. You can catch up on all the videos in the playlists on my YouTube channel. Everything is linked below in the description. And communication is so important that it also has its own playlist, which I've called the Communication Toolkit. Make sure to check it out. Real quick, if you enjoy this content and want to learn more about how to make power moves in your career, make sure to follow my channel and hit the notification bell so you never miss a video from me. All right, so let's get started. Number 1, adapt to your audience. It's important to adjust your communication approach based on the situation. Here's a good example. The way you talk to your colleagues is going to be more familiar and friendly, or even more direct and progressive, like moving things forward quickly. But if you're talking to a new colleague who isn't familiar with the environment yet, that same approach could be alienating. And yeah, this is a pretty simple example. But there's more to it. There's a balancing act between being able to show up as your true self at work, establishing your professional brand, and engaging with people at work. You have to know how each audience is going to respond to you and how you can use your unique communication style to get the best out of each situation. Some simple audiences you can start with: people unfamiliar with you who are still learning, people who are your peers that work like a well-oiled machine, and people you don't know very well who are decision makers with authority. You know, you're going to present information to each of these groups in a different way to get the results you want. I have a client who reached out last week and asked about this. She works with 2 co-owners and the CEO. The co-owners are hands-off and rely on her to provide clarification with decisions related to her expertise. That's fine. The CEO is more of a get-it-done type of person. He has a habit of taking everything she presents as a mandate to make decisions. He's a decision guy. We actually had to work on the different ways she could address this with each of them. Set boundaries, create clarification, redefine who you are to someone who sees you differently than the others in similar roles. She was frustrated, and that came from her feeling resentful that she needed to use a different communication style with this one person. And that's the thing. He doesn't need to change. He's in a role that requires him to take action as they build the business. Her responsibility is to tailor her communication style to ensure that she's getting the best out of each person's strengths, without driving herself crazy. And she repeatedly told me that she really likes the guy. What was bothering her was his habit of taking everything she shared and running with it. That meant she needed to use a different approach to communicate with him if she wanted to preserve her sanity. My position with dealing with executives is always the same. It's not in your best interest to have conversations with them to get them to change how they receive information. It's in your best interest to find a communication approach that's going to get the best from them. That's about you learning how to communicate with flexibility as you grow and start working with more senior people. Number 2, use questions effectively. I've talked a little bit about this in other videos, and I referenced it in the part 1 video too, but we're going to go a little deeper into the ask statements. And if you'd like a complete video on how to use the technique effectively, hey, drop a comment below. I might create one. There are 2 parts to using questions effectively. Yes, questions help you uncover missing information and help you get clarification in certain situations. More importantly, questions can help you involve others in the conversation, create an environment of collaboration, and control the direction of the decision-making process. Here's how it works. If you have a habit of asking yes/no questions, then it's time to start moving away from that approach. Hey, Robert, can you help me with this task? You're giving Robert a great opportunity to tell you, no, I'm too busy. Hey, Robert, I'm dealing with a pretty big task today, and Bob said I could ask for help from someone on the team. Since we've been working together on this project, I thought I could get an hour of your time. What does your calendar look like this afternoon? Robert could still say no, but it's not going to be a definitive no. It might look something like, today doesn't work, how about tomorrow? He could also say, thanks for thinking of me, but I may not be the best person. You might want to talk to Cindy over there. It's solution-based. Build the habit of asking open-ended questions. You actually have to slow down your thinking and create purposeful statements that move conversations forward instead of creating dead ends. If you've been frustrated with people not cooperating with you, then create decision trees that prompt them to engage with you. This isn't actually as hard as it sounds. I work with people regularly who make the slightest change to their approach in engaging with decision makers by creating ask statements, and the results are fantastic. This is what I mean when I talk about small change makes big impact. It's the crux of what executive coaching and leadership coaching is all about. Are you frustrated because you keep getting the same response every time you try to make progress? Let's try a different way of engaging with the same people with the same request, but reframe it as an empowering decision. It works because those people around you will start engaging with you differently and not really realize why. It's so powerful. Number 3, improve your writing. I did a video about this about a year ago and it didn't get much traction, but I think that's because working on your writing feels like the last thing you want to do. So you can watch the video here, but for now, I'm not going to talk about grammar, spelling, and formatting, but you should absolutely work on that, especially if you're sitting here thinking, I've never really spent time paying attention to my grammar. Get thee to a professional writing class. Here, though, I'm going to talk about how you might be over-communicating in your emails or even in Slack as a way to cover all your bases. This is about being more thoughtful about what you write down and how you want people to respond to your correspondence. I worked for an executive director and I thought I was doing great when I would send her huge emails with everything in them, all the background information, all the history behind what was going on and what she needed in order to make a decision. And she said, Christina, you have to get to the point. All my emails after that had headings, bullet points, action items, and an addendum with supporting information if she wanted to read through all of it. People are busy. Executives are busy. In fact, I'd say that by the time you are a senior or experienced manager, you need a crisp and concise writing style. Going back to the example of my client who was frustrated with the different approaches of her executive team, she needed to work on the communications she was sending because literally these people were reading the same summary in different ways. And she was doing the same thing I had done. She was putting everything in the email and breaking it down, but not really giving direction on what decisions she needed from each person. That meant she needed to think these summaries through more and give enough clarification for each person so that there was no miscommunication. After that, she's going to have a meeting with this action-oriented CEO and explain verbally what she needs from him based on the emails. She needs to eliminate all miscommunication. If you find yourself frustrated that you put a lot of time and effort into your emails and reports, but they're ignored or disregarded, then it's time to change your approach. Tighten up your written communication style. Again, it's a powerful way to get people to make decisions so you can keep moving forward with little disruption. Number 4, use a positive tone. Tone is important. It's the difference between saying, I can't believe that happened again, and I can't believe that happened again. Let's talk about that some more. You can use tone in a number of different ways. Some examples are frustration, anger, defensiveness, optimism, hope, validation, defeat. Here's a quick exercise. Use that sentence, I can't believe that happened again, with each of those different tones and see how it makes a difference in the message. I want you to start creating awareness around how you sound when you talk. There's a very high chance that you could think you're using an appropriate tone only to be told that you're coming across completely different. So if you've ever been told you're being defensive or you sound angry, let's fix that. First, the point of this communication tool is to start expressing yourself in a positive manner. And I believe this to be true. Using positive reinforcement is going to work well for you as you build your reputation at work. You could easily be the person who shares your unsolicited opinion, tells people what to do, constantly reminds them why stuff is wrong, and consistently shuts down disagreement. I say easily because it's very easy to get into this habit, especially if the people around you also act that way to varying degrees. You want to fit in. You want to succeed. If others are doing it, maybe it's not so bad. But it is bad. Stay in a positive frame of mind, but not overly optimistic. There is such a thing as toxic positivity. Anyway, a positive state of mind is, can you guess? A problem-solving mindset. This isn't anything we can't fix. What's the worst that could happen? We need to be realistic here. These are positive statements, but they don't lean into fantasy. Showing up to work, knowing that the way you contribute your ideas, thoughts, feedback, and creativity can have an impact on the success of any endeavor is powerful. Use it for good. First, make sure you're using positive statements and using an encouraging point of view. Then, use a tone with your statements that's consistent and equally positive. Nothing at work should cause you to be angry or aggressive. It should cause you to be creative at problem solving, resourceful with your ideas, and encouraging in the face of conflict. That's where you should focus your positivity. Number 5, deal with conflict. I saved the best for last, and all the tools I've talked about have led us to this moment. How can you use any one or combination of communication tools to help you navigate conflict effectively? No one likes conflict. Even my client has said she needs to talk to me first because she wanted to avoid an unpleasant conversation that could devolve into a disagreement. She wanted to do everything she could to avoid an unpleasant conversation. It's that hard and it's that uncomfortable. To deal with conflict, it pays to be direct and deal with it sooner rather than later. And if you've ever had that thought in your head, well, I'll wait and maybe it will resolve itself. Did it? Did it resolve itself, or did you have to get more involved later because it turned into a bigger issue? I can answer that. It turned into a bigger issue. This one isn't easy. First, take the time to think about it before you respond too hastily and find that you misread the situation. Once you calm down, you can recenter yourself so that you're dealing with the situation at hand and avoid making it personal. You can't talk to me that way. Becomes, it sounds like you're upset. What happened, and where can I provide clarification? Use your questions here. Investigate for more information. And if you find that you really like to respond in a reactive manner, then think of a question that's going to give you more clarity and buy you time. From there, look for a solution that works for all parties involved. So, you're saying that my colleague working on this project submitted the initial draft instead of the final one? That does sound like a problem. I suggest we all get on a call to clear up this misunderstanding. Diffuse it. If someone is being rude and calling you names, then by all means, remind them that this is a professional setting and you expect to be treated like a professional. Excuse yourself from the conversation and bring in your boss or stakeholder because that is inappropriate. All right, so that's it for my video on how to improve your communication skills at work. I have talked about 10 communication tools you need in your communication toolkit that will help you up-level your communication game. If you have examples of how you've used any of these 10 communication tools to your advantage, feel free to share them in the comments below. I would love to hear about them. And if you enjoyed watching this video and you found it helpful, please make sure to give it a big thumbs up by hitting that like button and make sure you're subscribed to my channel so you never miss another video from me. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.